Hi, welcome. This is Sarah Tomlinson, and I'm joining you today to talk about the 9 planets and the 8 kinds of yoga. Sometimes people ask me, how come I can't meditate? Or how come everybody else gets deeper and deeper into their yoga practice and I feel better when I'm in nature, or I feel better when I'm helping others? That's because Hatha yoga, yoga of the physical body as a way to silence, is only one yoga. So maybe you're a different planet. There's a planet for each yoga. So somewhere in our lives, we will have that planetary energy as a dominant force. It could be in our career, it could be in our relationships, it could be something else. It doesn't have to be in your spiritual nature. Your spiritual nature will be the thing that makes you feel the most centered. So I'm going to go through them and see which one you feel most resonant with. This could be life-changing. I have to say that I had a big breakthrough when I realized that Hatha yoga, governed by Saturn, it's not my main energy. It's one that's very useful for me for a while and I'm drawn to it, but it's not the one that really brings me to my center in a fulfilling way. So maybe you'll notice Hatha yoga might be good for your stress reduction. It might be good. Sometimes you just need to get in touch with a certain part of yourself that needs that quiet. For today, we're going to hear about the other kinds of yoga. So let's see which resonates with you. And in the subsequent video, I'm actually going to show you the yantras that relate to the planet that then relate to that kind of yoga. And sometimes just spending time with that yantra can start to really awaken what is going to be the most centering practice for you. Because you know what? There's no point in doing somebody else's practice. You want to be doing the practice that's right for you to feel most like you and to be your truly fabulous self. So what are the other ones? Well, we did Saturn, Hatha yoga. There's also the moon, which is Bhakti yoga. So if you're a Bhakti yogi or yogini, you might like devotional practices. Devotional practices are going to be heart-centered practices where maybe you're serving another, maybe you're devoted to another. It's oftentimes this feeling of yearning, being devotional towards something else. And that's the thing that feels the most nourishing, right? That's the thing. If you just do that each day, some offering, maybe some puja, some practice to something other, some expression of love and devotion. Doesn't mean you can't do the other yogas. It just means that's the one that's going to be the most centering. So that we've had Hatha yoga, Bhakti yoga. There's also Karma yoga. Karma yoga is governed by Jupiter, and Karma yoga has this, Jupiter is a really big planet, right? And big, it actually means guru in Sanskrit. It's the term for, one term for Jupiter. So guru is the big teacher, the big enlightener, the one that removes the darkness. So maybe if this is your path, Karma yoga, you may be honoring the teachings, the teacher, the light within. Doesn't always have to be some external force, right? Jupiterians also like rituals. So if you really like to do active rituals, things like painting yantras or walking meditation, that might mean that you have a more Jupiterian energy. Even giving to others, volunteering. So that's a different kind of yoga, right? Karma yoga. And that will be centering for you. There's another one called Kundalini yoga. That's a Mars practice. Kundalini yoga is the path of the warrior. So the warrior might be martial arts, right? It might be some tribal force coming through, but actually it can also mean the path of the will, focus, aligning your vibrational energy. Kundalini yoga has a lot to do with vibration, right? This idea of Kundalini working up through the chakras. So this energetic experience of pulsation. So if you feel very attuned to pulsation and sound, that might be a clue that you might be a warrior energy person, which is Mars. And let's see which other ones we have. So Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga is the path of self-inquiry, and this is Mercury. And the self-inquiry, it can be reading and studying. It can also be spending time in nature, just kind of absorbing and connecting with sensation and impressions. So it's almost like a sensory way of understanding or becoming present. It can be curiosity and asking questions. Endless questions, endless study can be how the mercurial person comes to a place of self-knowing and centering. So see how they're also different? So that's Mercury, and that can be very playful. There's a type, it's kind of a mixed type with Rahu and KETU. These are the nodes of the moon, and this is more of a tantric path. So this is more of this idea of being the rebel and using everything in daily life as something that contributes to your mystical practice. So there are tantras, which are scriptures about cultivating magic with everyday life activities. It could be making love, it could be cooking, it could be some other thing that you're doing in your daily life where if you do it in an exalted way, maybe with mantras and yantras, you can have this experience of the divine in your life, and then that becomes your spiritual path. So that's like the rebel path. It's almost like a no path. There's one more, there's two more. So one is Venus. Venus is Raja Yoga. And Raja Yoga is the path of the senses. So I have a rose here from my garden, and I was feeling that would be a good, Venus thing to have. So Venus is going to be, it's also going to be love, but it's going to be how can I embrace the use of the senses in my meditation practice as my yoga. It could also be things like yantras and mantras, but done for the senses. So for sound, for the visual, for touch, for taste, okay, smell, taste, and romance and art. So this is a really beautiful one. Actually, it's to do with the goddess, also in the feminine, Venus. So that's Venus. So maybe if for you, adorning yourself like the goddess is your practice, you might be a Venus spiritual person. And sometimes I have people come, people come for consultations to find out their spiritual nature. And they come in and they're like, no makeup and just feeling kind of drab. And they're like, I do yoga every day for 3 hours and I sit in silence. And then there's a chart in Ayurvedic astrology. And sometimes I'll see they have Venus as their main planet. And I'll say, did you ever really enjoy feeling more feminine? Adorning yourself in beautiful things. And, that could be you embodying the goddess. You are the goddess. And I remember this one lady, she really looked at me and it's like she's just forgotten that she could access that part of her nature. She was so kind of buried in this teaching of simplicity and Hatha yoga, which is going to be really great for someone. But for this woman, she needed to embrace her sensuality and, get the Venus back on. So she was very, very relieved when she found out that she had this other spiritual nature. And so that could even be like love, poetry, and, how do I go through my heart and through the senses to connect with the divine and to be centered. In these times, we need to be centered. And just tune into ourselves. There's so much going on and people telling us what to do, but actually, we innately are going to have a way of relating. And the last one is actually a bit of a combination. It's called Surya Yoga. Surya Yoga is the sun, and it's the integral path. And it basically means you can embrace all of these paths. So if I'm talking about Venus and Saturn and Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga, and you're feeling like, I really can't choose because I kind of resonate with all of them, that might mean that you are a Surya yogi or yogini. And that means you will be the integrated personality. You are the sun, and then you get to shine actually wherever you want, because the sun shines on everything. So some days you might feel the yearning to be more devotional. Other days you might feel the spirit to go and study somewhere. Other days you might feel like, I just want to be quiet and do headstand and do my breathing. So the Surya Yogi has usually this generous energy, this big energy that's embracing and including everything. So it doesn't mean you do everything all the time, but it means you might happily do certain things, different days, different things, and all of them will be reminding you of the light that is within you. So Surya is sun, so it's going to be a lot about your own light. And also the sun does not like to be told what to do. So if this is you, you're really going to want to choose just because of your own nature, your own desires. And then you get to shine. So I'll be curious to see I'm going to continue to share some of these teachings because I think they're really helpful. I think right now, a lot of us are feeling a little like we can't look outside for guidance. There's a sense of I have to take ownership for choices we're making. And one of them is to make a decision to really follow your heart, your path, your truth, align yourselves with your tribe, your community. So part of that is to start to tune out a lot of the noise, people telling you how things should be, and just tuning in to how you want to be. Like, what is it that makes you really tick? What is it that makes you feel the most happy? Because somewhere in there you already know that. And oftentimes when we're anxious or we're feeling depressed, it's because we've kind of left a little part of us out. One of those planets is feeling a little left out. And if it's your main one, you'll really be feeling out of sorts. So in the next video, I am going to show you the yantras, because I was thinking maybe that would be helpful for you to have a visual, because each yantra has the frequency of the spiritual path. And just for you to look at it, it might remind you of a part of yourself that you might have forgotten. But don't worry, you'll only have temporarily forgotten it. And just by focusing on it, you'll remember that part of yourself.